We're talking about stereotypes today. And when you were younger, did you have any questions for your parents or relatives about people from a different race or ability?
Not really, mainly because when I heard about like racism and disabilities, it was mostly from my friends.
Okay.
But when talking about disabilities, my father, he actually back in Hong Kong, he actually taught people with disabilities. So he taught in a school full of people with disabilities like autism or like Down syndrome,
Right.
stuff like that. So I kind of questioned him stuff about that, like why
Yeah.
did he do that,
Okay.
or like what disabilities did
Right.
people have, stuff like that. So I guess that's what I asked that question.
Did I have any questions? Maybe about their like religion, what they believe,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Traditions, nothing too big.
Okay.
I was raised pretty accepting.
My mom was pretty good about explaining that sort of thing to us, although I grew up in a very WASP town, like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and it's very, very normative town.
Okay.
No gay people, not a significant amount of visibly disabled people,
Yeah.
and they weren't included in school and stuff. Although that's changed in bigger cities. I find that stereotypes are more prevalent in places in smaller cities.
I think when we're all at a young age, we sort of start identifying people that look differently from ourselves.
Okay.
And I do believe I had questions when I was younger. I at one point approached my parents and asked, why does this person look different? Or why does this person have a different skin color than I do?
Right.
And it's this sort of idea where we try to identify ourselves at a young age, under a different culture, under some kind of category. My parents were quick to point out that people come in all shapes and sizes, that people look differently, people are different.
Did you have an accepting attitude towards that? Like,
I did
Yeah.
have an accepting attitude.
Okay.
I love everyone. Well, I don't like just I'm not
General, yeah.
in general. I'm not judgmental.
All right.
I'm accepting.
Yeah.
So if I see someone with a disability,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's weird.
Okay.
Like I've done like some research, or like I've known people who also have some disabilities,
Right.
so I understand their situation, and I'll sometimes try to help them with stuff that they can't do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I've seen that you knew about different races, different people with different abilities. Were you pretty accepting about it, the idea in your mind?
Yeah, because I'm actually invisibly disabled myself. I have psoriatic arthritis, and
Wow.
and I got that about in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I started to deal with more mental health issues, and now I identify as MAD and
Wow.
get into all this MAD activism stuff.
Okay.
But before that, I thought I knew a lot, but it was only after I experienced it that I realized there were so many problems and so many stereotypes and so much discrimination against
Exactly.
specific people.
I didn't really see people as different. I knew they were different in a physical sense, but on the inside we're all human. And
Right.
I accepted that at an early age, and
Okay.
it was very easy to make friends that way.
Yeah.
So I lived in Colombia for the first 6 years of my life, and that's where I started realizing that people were different. When I
Right.
came to North America, however, it was in the States. That's when I noticed the bigger difference. It's like, whoa, holy cow, there's all these different cultures in the world that we're not exposed to, because
Sure.
we're always, I guess, contained within our own home,
Right.
within our own community. When you leave your own community and you go to an external area, a
Okay.
new area, being the United States of America,
Yeah.
it was a big change for me. So suddenly I went from a majority to a minority figure in the United States.
Sure.
Where I was born, we all basically had the same skin color. We
Exactly.
interacted in similar ways. In the States, I was suddenly a minority. And I was able to see that change, that difference between majority and minority groups,
Okay.
and seeing how people interacted differently.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was racism in the States where I lived,
Okay.
towards minorities, especially during the 9/11 era.
I don't think as a child, like my parents would have been pretty upset with me if I wasn't accepting. of
Oh, I
races.
see.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's like the stereotypes. I'm not saying we're some diverse family. Like
Okay.
obviously my parents had some stereotypes that I'm sure have rubbed off on me a little bit, but like
Right.
in general, like I
General.
think I'm pretty good. So
So you talked about your friends, and that's where you saw racism or stereotyping coming from. Did it become harder because of your friends and peer pressure when you were growing up? terms of your view towards people with disability or different races and stuff?
Well, like my friends they joke around with
Yeah.
racism, but for me personally, I grew up in a Christian family,
Okay.
so I don't judge people or I don't tend to be racist or anything like that.
There's a lot of stereotypes about disability and MAD identified people. We're supposed to be dangerous. We're supposed to be, don't let us near children.
Right.
We all need to be locked up. We're not smart. We don't deserve to go to school. We should be put away and segregated from everyone else to keep everyone safe. It's basically, we're objects of fear. And that's very much different from any kind of like physical disability or intellectual disability.
Do you have any experiences that you could share, or?
Oh, definitely. This is like the biggest part of my childhood, and growing up to be the person that I am today was mostly influenced by what happened. I moved to the States about 2 months before 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
I lived about 20 minutes away from New York City at the time. So once the 9/11 terrorist attacks took place, there was a sudden change in the States between how minorities were seen or foreigners were seen. Before 9/11, it was almost like, okay, they're just here, whatever, I'll do my own thing. My American identity is still protected. After 9/11, suddenly everyone was a threat. All other cultures that were non-American were seen as a threat.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not generalizing everyone in the States, but this was the general consensus where I was living.
And you have media, and you have people talking.
Definitely.
So, how do you think, like the rest of the society, or here at McMaster, how do you think other people can be encouraged to be accepting and want to know more about how to support people from particular disability, or?
I guess you just maybe you can do like workshops,
Yeah.
or promote, or just like make a video about people with disabilities and show, that they're like one of us. They're normal. They're not abnormal. Everyone's normal.
Yeah.
Like they can do what we can do.
As soon as I came to Mac, I was exposed to all these different races, so it's up
Exactly.
to the person if they want to isolate themselves from the rest of them.
Right.
So I don't think Mac does anything in particular to isolate people from other ethnicities.
And I like to think of disability as a spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's not, this is why I like the slash model of disability. It's dis/ability, because there's not just able-bodied people or non-disabled people and disabled people.
Right.
We all have times where we're sick. We can have cancer. We can be disabled for that
Exactly.
time, and it has a huge impact on us. It changes our lives.